Hello, my friend. Welcome to the Cloffice. This past Sunday we began a sermon series through the book of Ruth, and I trust that you're reading the book with me and studying it along with me. I'd like to give you some bonus material. Bonus material in that I don't know if this will ever make it into one of the sermons as we go through the series, but it's also bonus material in that I trust that it will enrich your reading of the book and encourage you as you study the book with me and just be an encouragement to you today. When we get to the end of the book of Ruth, the author gives us a genealogy at the very end of the book. It's not a long genealogy. I won't cover all of it, but let me just give you the last 5 names. At the end of the book, it says that Salmon fathered Boaz, Boaz fathered Obed, Obed fathered Jesse, and Jesse fathered David. Now, this David, of course, is none other than King David, that Old Testament king of renown. He is Israel's greatest king in the Old Testament. But the unique thing about David is God makes promises to David that he's going to continue his redemptive plan in history. God promised way back in the Garden of Eden that he's going to send a Savior, a deliverer, a Messiah. It's going to come through the seed of a woman. It's going to come through Abraham's family. It's going to come through the tribe of Judah. And then God makes promises to David that the Messiah, the deliverer, the rescuer is going to come through David's family line. And this is the David that's spoken of in this genealogy at the end of the book of Ruth. And so we immediately connect this book with God's continued purposes and plans of redemptive history, which is significant. But that little genealogy does more than just that, even though that's the most significant thing. Because it is the human ancestry of Jesus Christ, when we turn to the pages of the New Testament, to the book of Matthew, and Matthew gives us the ancestry of Jesus, the human ancestry of Jesus, these 5 names are mentioned again in that more lengthy genealogy. Again, you have Salmon, Boaz, Obed, Jesse, David. But the interesting thing about Matthew is he includes women in the genealogy. And he tells us there that he tells us that Salmon married Rahab. And Salmon and Rahab had a boy and they named him Boaz. Now Rahab, she is an Old Testament renowned woman of faith. She makes it into the Hebrews 11 Hall of Fame of Faith. Rahab is that foreigner, prostitute from the city of Jericho who has heard about God and she has placed her faith in God. She's not a biological descendant of Abraham, but she's of the faith of Abraham. She's the one who provides safety to the spies when they come in to spy out the land. She's the one who is rescued by God as her people perish because of her faith in God. And she identifies with God and identifies with God's people. Well, Salmon marries her, and they have a son, Boaz. Now, like father, like son, Boaz also marries a foreigner, an outside, a Moabite. He marries Ruth, the widowed woman of our story that we're reading. So how remarkable that Ruth, who also becomes a great woman of faith, again, not a biological descendant of Abraham, but she's of the faith of Abraham. She takes God at his word, believes God, and identifies with God and with God's people. She has a new mother-in-law through Boaz, and it's none other than Rahab. How kind and gracious of God to put these 2 women in history, and for Ruth to have a new mother-in-law, Rahab. Just a remarkable story. Now, if we go back into the Gospel of Matthew and into that genealogy, the fascinating thing is Matthew includes 4 women in this genealogy, the ancestry of Jesus Christ. Again, you have Rahab and Ruth, but before Rahab, you have Tamar, and then after Ruth, you have Bathsheba. Now, the fascinating thing about that is, women normally aren't listed in biblical genealogies, but Matthew includes these 4 women. The thing about these 4 women is they have quite a checkered past. They have a past that's filled with either they're outsiders or they have significant moral failure. These are not women with great reputations, but we learn something here. God will delight in having as his very own those who trust in him. No matter your backstory, I mean, you think about Tamar, Rahab, Ruth, and Bathsheba. Their backstory was not great, but in the course of their life, they hear about God, they believe God, they identify with him and with his people, and the good news is God delights in having as his very own those who trust in him. And these women become renowned women of faith. So continue reading the book of Ruth. I trust that this has been a unique encouragement to you. I find it fascinating that Ruth's new mother-in-law is none other than Rahab. It also tells us that the book of Ruth is very early in the history of the Judges, not at the back end of that 200-year period of time, but at the very front end as Rahab is in the story. Well, hey, you continue reading and studying the book of Ruth. I will continue doing the same. Looking forward to this Sunday as we continue the study together. And God willing, this week I'll continue to provide just some additional bonus material that I trust will enrich your study and encourage your soul. God bless you. Have a good day.